I'm Nancy Williams, and I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I came here to this international Congress, the UFO Congress, in order to let everybody know about my new book, which is called A Matter of Destiny, and to go ahead and to sell it here at the show. Also get to meet a lot of the people here.
And what is the book about?
Well, the book is a story that details a crash of two UFOs on November 22nd, 1992 at Brookhaven Research Labs, Brookhaven, Long Island, New York. And I have found over a period of time a great deal of information about that crash. Decided I wanted to go ahead and write about it.
Mm-hmm. How did you originally find out about it? Were you a witness?
No, I was not a direct witness, and I need to tell that right off front. What happened was a friend loaned me the material from J.B. Michaels, a reporter who had covered the original crash. He interviewed 200-some witnesses in order to gather his information. He did put it into a the detailed report into a style of book, which a friend of mine had loaned me. Now that was nonfiction. I, at that point, decided it was the greatest story never told. I have a military background myself, as well as the fact that I was at the time, and have been for a number of years until just last year, an English professor at a college, and I knew I wanted to write this story. I wanted to go ahead and detail all these events. I decided to write it as fiction because I could go ahead and reach a greater audience. I'm not just here to support the UFO crowd. I want to get the story out to the average citizen. Just as Michael Crichton did with his book Prey about nanotechnology, I felt this would be a good way. Just go ahead and write something fictional, but people will be saying, you know, I know just enough about that subject to realize that there's a lot of what he's saying that is true. I felt the same way. That's what I did.
About what percentage of the book is true?
The very first portion of the book is not. It's a whodunit, you know, a thriller, chase scenes and all that. And of course none of that actually happened, that portion of it. But when I get to about the halfway to two-thirds of the way through the book, and I start detailing what is happening at the labs, I call them Fontana Labs in my story. Of course, as I said, it happened really at Brookhaven Labs. But when I pick up from that point on, everything is 100% correct, as Mr. Michaels told me.
Mm-hmm. And this was some sort of shoot-down of craft?
Right. It really began with the development of a weapon, a very top secret weapon, by the Department of Energy, doing research with research grant scientists, that kind of thing, at Brookhaven Labs. They developed quark technology, which they have there at the labs. It's freely available online if you really go digging. So, and I did do a lot of that. But at any rate, it is there, and they've used it for good things as well. I'm not saying that at all. But what they did do is they also decided to build this weapon. They worked in conjunction with the Department of Defense on it. They had a liaison officer, a colonel, at Brookhaven Labs who oversaw this project of developing this weapon. It was used in 1992 to shoot down two UFOs. They were in a fleet of 4, being followed trailing behind them at a great respectable distance were some Comanche helicopters, and they went ahead and they shot these 2 down. One was obliterated. One was severely damaged. There were 2 aliens inside. One died. One remained alive. And what happened after that point is almost as good a story as what happened up to that point.
Was it this case that got you into UFOs, or were you into it prior?
No, actually, it wasn't the first case for me. I have a military background as well as the work that I did at the college level teaching. And I almost have to go back to my dad. He was in the Army Air Corps during World War II. Then he went to work with Boeing aircraft in Seattle, where I was born and raised. I've been around aircraft all my life. We were out on a picnic in 1953, and I'm giving away my age now, when I was 11 years old, and we saw we had a daytime sighting over the Tolt River in the mountains, Cascade Mountains of Washington. It lasted for at least 5 minutes. We saw this object very clearly. It was saucer shaped, but my dad just really freaked out. He said, "Don't you ever tell anyone. It will be my job." And he said, "Don't tell anybody until I'm dead." And we have kept that compact, that decision for him.
So when were you a researcher into this subject then prior to this case as well?
Not as a researcher, no. When this book came down the pike, it was just as though this, is a way for me to tell a story, and I was so intent on making it as realistic as possible without the kind of attachment that sometimes people have around the UFO community, that we're a bunch of nuts, that there isn't any credence in what we have to say. I wanted to take my background, my professorship, everything, and try to convince people this is really what is happening.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that the truth will be revealed about what timeline, and how do you think the nature of that will happen?
I'm more hopeful today than I've ever been in my entire life about the information getting out there. As you know, England, began with France. France has revealed some of their documents. Britain is going ahead with that. And I'm sure that other countries will follow suit. If this indeed happens, the U.S. will be pushed to reveal their documents. Whether or not they just give us a bunch of platitudes and documents that don't lead us in any direction, I just simply don't know. But I'm very, very hopeful. I'm more hopeful than I have been in years, and that's what's been wonderful about this Congress, because people are saying that everywhere in all the lectures, and that's just exciting.
And how do people find out more about you and your book?
www.nlwilliamswriter.com. And I do have an email that's almost the same thing. It just ends with @comcast.net. I got both in.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Uh-huh.